Welcome to the Feria TechCast, where we'll bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today, we are joined by Nathaniel Turner, author, TEDx speaker, and creator of the Life Template, who has mastered the art of backward designing exceptional lives, including raising a son who earned a PhD in electrical and computer engineering from Carnegie Mellon and an MBA from NYU Stern. Passionate advocate for purposeful living and educational equity. Nathaniel challenges conventional wisdom around parenting, achievements, and building legacy through his extensive work, including his book, The Amazing Work of STEM, and his own journey as a father. He offers actionable strategies to nurture curiosity, defy systemic limitations, and align personal ambition with meaningful outcomes. So, Mr. Nathaniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
All right. So, firstly, I'd like to start from your book. So I saw that you've authored over 10 books. Could you tell us about them? And I'm particularly interested in one of it, The Amazing World of STEM. Could you tell us about your books and shed some light about that particular one, The Amazing World of STEM, and what
Sure.
inspired you to write it?
The Amazing World of STEM is a book inspired by my relationship with my son, who you met, my son, Dr. Naeem Turner Bendelli. It is a book that we imagined writing years ago, a book about a young man who's very much like him, a precocious young man who dreams of being an engineer and solving the world's problems. So that's where that book originates. It originates from my relationship with my son. And during the pandemic, he was home from Carnegie Mellon, where he was there working on his PhD. And he and I decided to finally take a stab at writing the book. So we wrote two of them.
Great. So your son achieved incredible success in his career in STEM. So, what's one key thing you did as a parent to nurture that specific interest from a young age?
One key thing I think parents have to do is model whatever it is that they want their children to do. Um, I believe very strongly in the ideal of trees and fruit. I believe parents are trees and we raise fruit, and fruit are our children. And I don't think we should have the expectation that a child will strive to do anything more than a parent strives to do something. So the best thing I think any parent can do is to show their children what excellence looks like, what it looks like to make a great effort, what it looks like to dream and continue to chase a dream. I think that's the biggest thing. Whether or not it's STEM, whether or not it's art, whether or not it's English, whether or not it's writing, whatever it is that a child succeeds in, I think that the catalyst of that has to come from a parent.
That's great. So, you have a strong opinion on college. So, why do you say college is a scam unless you do this first? And I mean, what do we have to do first to ensure that college is not a scam?
Sure. Well, first of all, when we say college, what we do is we act as if all colleges are the same, and they're not. And so here in America, for an example, someone could say, I'm going to college without having looked at anything about the college. We may not know what the college's return on investment is. Otherwise, in other words, how much money am I going to spend to go to this school? And what is the likelihood that I'm going to even earn what it is that I pay in tuition? That's really important. Many of us wouldn't spend money on anything if we knew that there was no return on investment. Colleges are not all the same. Some schools you can go to and meet all kinds of wonderful people who will help you advance your life and your career and your dreams and goals. And other places you'll go and there'll be no one to help you to advance. So in that respect, that's what I mean by college is a scam. All colleges are not the same. It's incredibly important to figure out which colleges will allow you to reach your highest heights. And it's also important to recognize which colleges won't. And today, what's even more critical is to make a proper decision about what it is you're going to earn a degree in. Because today, if you earn a degree, when I was younger, I'm 60 years old, and when I was in high school, if I was told to go to college, the idea was just to get a degree. If you got a degree, someone would see that as enough to prove that you were qualified to work somewhere. It didn't really matter what the degree was in, but it showed that you could stick to something, you could finish it, etc. Today, it's not like that. Today, you can't just go get a degree in anything and be hired. Today, you need to be a master of math and science in particular. And if you can master those things and go to a really great school, you have a greater chance of having a great life. Without that, things may not be as positive for you.
That's amazing. So, for the students listening, what does beating the system without becoming it mean for their career?
I mean, I guess maybe it's a little bit of what I just described. Like beating the system is knowing how the system works. So again, I'm in the United States, and when we talk to students, or when educators talk to students about preparing them, we say, for example, for the future, what we don't do is talk about what the future looks like. But what are young people most concerned about today? They're concerned about the same thing that the young people have been concerned about forever. Will I be able to take care of myself? Will I be able to own a home? Will I be able to pay for my cost of living? Will I be able to feed my family? Okay, well, that's the scam. That's the system. Are you going to be able to pick an institution that's going to put you in the best position to do that? And again, not every school is able to do that. Right? Not every degree will set you up for that. So it's incredibly important. It's critical that you've done some research before you just decide, I'm going to go to college, because today you may spend a lot of money on going to a university and only to find out that you're no more employable than you were before you started.
Tell us, what is backward design in simple terms?
Sure. So where are you located?
Okay, currently I'm located in Nigeria.
Okay, cool. So if I wanted to visit you, if I wanted to visit with you, and you and I made a decision, well, I wasn't going to come to Nigeria. You and I were going to go, I don't know, let's say we're going to go to Brazil. Your route to go to Brazil is going to be different than my route to go to Brazil. If you and I were didn't know we were going, we might reach out to a travel agent. The travel agent will design a trip for us, for you to make it to Nigeria, for me to make it to Brazil. Well, for you to make it from Nigeria to Brazil, for me to make it from America to Brazil. That's what backward design is. Where is it that we want to go for the destination? If we're both wanting to go to Brazil, then we need a route to both get us to Brazil. And the same thing is said in life. If you want to be an engineer, then and you're a part of the Nigerian school system, then you need a route to get you to somewhere where you can become an engineer. Depends on what school you want to go to. So we may say, hey, if you said, I want to go to the United States and I want to go to, I don't know, California, Berkeley, you would need to know what the qualifications were to be able to be admitted to University of California, Berkeley, long before your senior year in high school, because you would want to make sure you did everything you need to do to make sure you were as most prepared as you could possibly be. And that's just backward design. It's like a GPS, figuring out where the end destination is and working out a plan so that you can get to that place.
Wonderful. Could you give us an example of how a recent graduate or someone who just completed college can use backward design to plan their career?
So I've just been working with a young man who is originally from Cote d'Ivoire, or Ivory Coast. He wanted to go to business school and was looking at being able to attend one of the top 25 business schools in the United States. And so we did the same thing. We took backward design. We looked at what the requirements were. What is the test score? What GRE score do you need in order to be a student that a university would consider accepting? What kinds of extracurricular activities do you need in order for those schools, those high level schools, to consider you as an applicant? And so, because he didn't necessarily know how to prepare for the GRE, then we had to teach him how to study for the GRE. We had to show him how to then write his letters of interest to explain to a university why he should be considered a qualified applicant. So that's an example of how you use backward design. We knew where he wanted to go. We looked at the test scores and admission requirements, and then we worked backwards to make sure he was accepted.
Wonderful. So, why do you say most people will die with potential? And how can they avoid that trap?
Most people die with potential for a few reasons. Number one, people don't believe in their own dreams. You might have a dream, and then you may think that the dream is impossible, so then you give up. The other way that people dreams die with them or their potential is never realized is that they don't surround themselves with enough people who can encourage them to keep going forward when they want to quit. All of us will have a dream, will have a goal that we think is possible at one point in time or another. We'll have some difficulty, there'll be a trial or tribulation, and we'll say, well, forget it, I can't do it. If you had enough people around you to support you that wouldn't let you quit, then you have a greater chance of succeeding. So I would say for anyone trying to figure out how to make a hope or a dream that they have a reality, I would say find yourself 4 to 5 people who will surround you. Five is the more optimal number that would encourage you all along the way. You find someone that would always point you in the right direction and help you guard your hopes and dreams. You'd find someone who would help to inspire you to keep you motivated when you feel like giving up. You'd find someone who is great with small details, who will help you to remember there's some small things you have to do. There's I's you have to dot, there's T's you have to cross in order to make that dream a reality. You'd find someone who is a sort of a master motivator and powerful enough in their words and their behavior to push everybody forward when they want to give up. And then lastly, you'd want to find someone who is what we call a center of influence, someone who knows people who can help you to move forward beyond wherever the group is able to help you to move forward.
Wonderful. So, what's a practical first step someone can take today if they feel stuck in their career or life and want to start living more purposefully?
What's one step? One step I would think to live your life more purposely is to know what it is you want out of your life. I would ask people this question: if the world were perfect, then what? See, most people, when I ask you that question, most people's minds kind of just open up, and you're like, "Oh my God, if the world were perfect, I would do like all kinds of stuff." And to which then I would say, "Then why aren't you doing those things? If the world were perfect, then what?" Most of the things that we think of that keep us from doing what we want to do are imaginary. They're just in your head. So if you can get out of your head and just be and imagine a great life, then you can start putting those pieces in place to make that life a reality. One other thing you could do is have a vision board or an action board, a board that reminds you of the things you need to do to bring that life into fruition. You could also spend every day writing about the life you want. I call it journaling forward. You could write how you would like your life to be, even if you're not able to currently live that life. I don't live on a beach presently, but each day or most days I wake up and I write about this life where I walk on the beach and I walk this imaginary dog called Journey. So many things that I've written in my journal have come to fruition. I believe they come to fruition because when you write things down, when you say them out loud, you have to chase your words. And when you chase your words, more often than not, those words become reality.
Wonderful. So, tell us, Mr. Nathaniel, you had a tough childhood, but you
Mm.
raised an exceptional person. So, what did those tough times teach you about being a good parent?
It just taught me that I wanted to be better than the parent that I had. That I really like. You can complain about someone else. You can talk about what you didn't have, but that is no excuse for not being better. I believe that my objective, my responsibility every day is to be better than I was yesterday. My responsibility is to be better than my parents. If my parents failed me, it is not okay for me to fail my child. And so that's the biggest driver. I don't have the luxury of failing my son. I'm responsible, deeply responsible for helping my son have a life better than I had and be able to see that his life, his hopes and dreams have the best chance of manifesting.
And so, based on your experience, what are the things parents often get wrong when trying to encourage their kids in their career paths?
Parents, what do they get wrong? I think parents get a lot of things wrong. I think parents get wrong that they can have everything. Just too many times, it's certainly here in the United States, parents misunderstand what it means to be a parent. People have children all the time without giving any thought to the life that they're creating. Most people know more about putting in, as I did before my son was born. I knew more about putting a car seat in a car than I did about being a parent. Most parents have no plans, no plans, no strategy, no tools, no techniques that they're going to apply to help a child live a great life. Most parents haven't thought about how they're going to get their child to any specific place in the end. And so most parents raise young men and women and spend most of their time calling them boys and girls, and then are surprised that their children, when they look like an adult, still act like children.
Wonderful. So, tell us, why do you think good grades don't really mean that you're a good parent?
Good grades. Well, first of all, being good grades can be deceptive. It depends on what school you attend. All grades are not the same. You could be at a very poor school and a school where you're only learning, let's say, 25% of what you're supposed to learn for sixth grade math, as an example, and you could have straight A's. Well, that's wonderful, but you only know 25% of sixth grade math, which means if you were anywhere else, the 75% of the math you didn't know would mean that you have failed a class. So the grade, what does the grade even mean? It just means you've mastered whatever that teacher thought was enough for you to learn. So I'm not, and then parents who think or puff out their chest and say their children are honor students at a particular school because they've learned a portion of a subject. Um, this just sort of a false way to look at your success as a parent without knowing if your child knows everything they need to know at each grade. There is nothing really to be proud about. There's nothing to be excited about.
Wonderful. So, your son, uh,
Mm-hmm.
your son speaks several different language. He has a
Yes.
PhD and MBA from two of America's best universities, and
Mm-hmm.
left home at 16 to choose a dream of playing soccer in another country.
Mm-hmm.
And also, he founded an energy research and consulting firm. I mean, I've interviewed him here on the show, and I think he was a really, really, really great guest with very, very, very good vision on how to navigate life. And I got a whole lot of insight from my conversation with him. So tell us, with how did you help him do all of that?
um, Well, before he was born, we wrote Harvard for an application, and we took the admissions application from Harvard to then create this template for his life. And the template was based on three pillars. The first one is intellectual ambition. The second pillar is global and cultural competency. And the third pillar is humanitarian drive. So his entire life was built off of those premises, that he would always be intellectually ambitious, which means to be curious, which means to question things, to understand critical thinking, to look through things through the lens of Socratic thinking. The second portion of to be global and culturally competent, to learn other languages so you could speak the language of other people, which I believe makes you um, much more make people receive you differently when you are willing to speak their language as opposed to asking everyone to speak your language. To understand the connections between people like you in Nigeria and people like you, like people in Ghana and people in South Africa, or people in Brazil or Portugal, to understand the connection between people all over the world. and then also to be a humanitarian, to care for something greater than oneself. It is those three things that I believe are partly responsible for who he's become, along with the village of people who also helped us help raise him.
That's wonderful. So, you believe that adults messed things up for Gen Zs. So, what mistake do you think adults made, uh, and how can it be fixed? So, I'm particularly concerned about this one because I myself, I'm a Gen Z, so
Okay.
I like to get that clearly.
Yeah, so I said in a TED talk some years ago that we owe Generation Z an apology and a strategy to move forward, a plan of action to move forward. What I mean by that is most generations, and again, I'll only speak for America because this is the nation where I live, but most people in America love to criticize whatever is the newest generation. So every new generation is a generation that folks criticize. Today we criticize Gen Z, we criticize millennials. I'm a Gen Xer, and then there's people who are baby boomers. But every generation criticizes the other. It says they're weak, they're not as aggressive, they're not as committed, they don't care as much, et cetera, et cetera. And my point with that would be that whatever the newest generation is, they are because of the older generation. See, I'm a believer in trees and fruit. Whatever your fruit is, they are only a manifestation of what you are. They embody who you are. So if older people are complaining about younger people, then we only need to look at older people and ask them, why didn't we do better so that younger people could do better? I think that's the thing that I think people my age miss as relates to Gen Z or any other younger generation. We forget that you all are only a mirror image of what we poured into you. And if we haven't poured the right things into you, then we should expect that you are exactly what we're complaining about. But when we pour the right things in you, we love to puff out our chest and say how great of a job we've done. Well, we also have to take the burden and the responsibility when you turn out a particular way and ask ourselves why. What did we do wrong?
So, tell us, what would you say to someone who feels stuck or like they've wasted their time, and how do they get back on track today?
Sure, I would say if you're thinking that you've worried about something that happened in the past, then you are destined to repeat the past. I would say if yesterday is gone, yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't care how many yesterdays you had. You cannot get back a yesterday, and you can't move forward into a tomorrow. The only thing that you have, the only moment that is real, is right now. So I would say to anyone, do your absolute best right now. That's it. All you can do is the best you can do right now. Stop worrying about what happened yesterday. Stop worrying about a failure from yesterday. If you had a failure from yesterday, great. Learn from it so that you don't fail from it tomorrow fall from it today. If you've walked down the road, and you tripped on a brick on the sidewalk, then tomorrow or today, when you walk down that same road where you tripped yesterday, you learn the lesson so that you don't trip on that same brick today. But that's the only thing that yesterday provides for you, is the lesson about what worked or what didn't work. But you can't relive a yesterday, and you can't live a tomorrow without first maximizing and doing everything you can for today.
That's a great piece of advice. So, finally, Mr. Nathaniel, I normally like to save this one for last to
Mhm.
ask the guests I interview here on this podcast. So, tell us, what does innovation mean to you, and how it relates to your work in the context of building a life and a legacy?
Innovation. What does
Yeah.
innovation means for me? Yeah, I mean, I think everything we do should be either about building on something that works, or finding a way to innovate to do something that makes something that doesn't work work. Um, what am I trying to do with my life? I'm simply trying to leave this planet better than it was than I found it. I don't know if that means being innovative in my behavior. I don't think there's much new under the sun. I think the objective is just to find a way to be better than you were yesterday, to leave the planet better than it was when you found it. What does that mean? I'm not sure. My son is attempting to, as a energy engineer, to find a way to make energy affordable, accessible to people anywhere around the world, and perhaps make it free. I think that in itself is innovative, but it's not necessarily new that you would care deeply about people and want people to have a great life. So in some ways, I think, innovation is simply about finding a way to improve the human condition.
Wow, that was wonderful. So finally, tell us, where can our listeners contact you or learn more about your life template?
Sure. So there's two places that you can find me. If you're a parent or expecting parent or a young parent or an old parent, you can find our work at the League of Extraordinary Parents. That's the League of Extraordinary Parents, and the website is www.lxtrap.com. So it's the League of Extraordinary Parents at lxtrap.com. If you just want to find about me and the things that I'm writing about or thinking about, you can find me at Nathaniel, NathanielAturner.com, NathanielAturner.com.
Great, Nathaniel. It's been a really wonderful conversation with you today, and I'm really, really excited to have you on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.